Sabaton with The Last Stand. A couple things to know about this group right out of the gate. First of all, they have a love of military history, which is something that spans across all of their albums. Doesn't matter what kind of battle it is, whether it's a recent conflict, either that or one of old, nothing really seems exempt from these guys whenever it comes to discussing it in some sort of song form and giving it a little bit of its own flavor. This is a power metal / heavy metal groups from Sweden, so really the whole entire scope of their history and their lyricism is very, very good. It's definitely a strength. It's almost like going to school and learning about military history a little bit, because whenever you find out what these songs are about, you kind of want to Wikipedia it, or maybe look up some more information if you're already not aware about it. Cool thing about this, with the album being called The Last Stand, also kind of unfurls the theme of this disc, which is, famous conflicts where there would have been a unit, either that or a battalion, that was outnumbered by very large numbers and was making their last stand. And it's obviously one where they are going to either gain a miracle victory, or they are going to be senselessly slaughtered and just be completely and totally overpowered by their enemies. And that really is something that you could understand right out of the gate with the song Sparta, obviously with references to the 300 being really thrown about within this track, but it's something that is very much ingrained with the actual conflict that happens. One thing about Sabaton's lyrics is that they are very intelligent, and they have kind of this weird way of sort of throwing in history, and also at times doing it from the perspective of one of the individuals that was involved. And so it does give it a little bit of variety. It's not something where it feels like they're reading right out of a history textbook in order to really build their lyricism and build up these tracks. Musically speaking, it's excellent, and that's really where the true secondary strength of what Sabaton does comes into play. Whenever you think about power metal and heavy metal, you immediately think of fantasy, and you think of how the guitar work, really the overall musicianship really builds the atmosphere. It builds sort of that fantasy world that is being spoken about through the lyricism. Either that, or is attempting to reflect a fantasy world that already exists, such as the world of the Lord of the Rings. With Sabaton, they're using music in order to kind of give a little bit of a backdrop. It's not trying to make history come alive, where they're trying to simulate that it's the 1500s or something like that. Instead, this is a band that's using their music as that war tone, as that battle tone, considering in a lot of these high fantasy power metal, albums, there is some sort of war to be waged, or some sort of justice that needs to reign supreme. They instead, Sabaton that is, use this as a format to really showcase and set up the battle, which really leads to not very many moments of softness, not very many moments that feel like ballads or balladeering. This is instead something that 100% sticks to the tone of battle, of warfare, but still is able to unfurl many, many emotions that are experienced throughout these experiences. That was kind of redundant. Great example of that is Diary of an Unknown Soldier, which is talking about one of the battles from World War I, and it just really kind of, the way in which it was described, that all of the different tones and sounds of the war cannons and the sidearms, and the cold feeling of a bayonet slicing somebody, being really set to the tune of music, that it becomes its own symphony. I'm paraphrasing here. Wow, I mean, that's a really interesting way to really signify what maybe bred a little bit of heavy metal, the sounds of war and madness really coming together in order to create just a cacophony of absolute horror, of absolute devastation and destruction. Perhaps a metaphor for extreme metal. I'm just throwing it out there. But either way, whenever you get into songs such as The Last Battalion and The Last Stand, the title track off of this disc, God, man, the music is really what takes over, and it's based off of the fact that whenever they use their pacing, whether it be aggressive or a little bit more mid-range, they're able to allow the guitar work to sort of soar over it at times, which really kind of paints this picture that the battle is raging too far, too fast, and they're not able to really take care of, they're not able to just get this thing done. It's really raging at a full force, and we're about to hit our climax. We're about to hit that moment, and it's really something to behold, because their fills are so very well done, and really their solos are very talented. It's well within that power metal construct. They're not trying to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. They're not trying to shred like Rhapsody of Fire, like they are, these classically trained symphony makers. Instead, they're staying right there within their wheelhouse and crafting very intelligible power metal. Now, the second thing that this band's exceptionally good at is their covers. It's really paying a lot of respect to heavy metal of the past. And in this case, you have a great cover of All Guns Blazing by Judas Priest, as well as a Iron Maiden cover to finish this one up. That one's only available on the deluxe edition. And really, that's 7 minutes, and really, it's the longest cut that you're going to get from these guys. Most of them don't even reach the 4-minute mark, with Sparta being the only one that does. And overall, this is a quick album that is easy to digest whenever it comes to musically speaking, but whenever it comes to the topicality, whenever it comes to the stories that are being presented, it is certainly one that does require a little bit of extra reading, and it's one that you kind of get lost in because of that, and that's the marking of a pretty cool album. I love the fact that this reaches the gamut of Afghanistan. It goes back to some Japanese history from the 1800s. You see Swedish stands, you see stands that occurred that involved the Vatican. This is not one that is restrictive to just one corner of the globe or just one conflict. This is instead one that uses that expansive nature in order to really circle the whole idea of warfare. So I want to know what you guys think about The Last Stand by Sabaton. Did you really dig this album? Because I did. I loved the furious pace. I loved how it definitely brought the emotions of war very much to home, and it also was able to deliver enough of a diverse effect in order to showcase that Sabaton is a band that is just slowly but surely getting better, and they're on this musical plateau where it's really hard to debate that their stuff is getting derivative. But what are your thoughts on The Last Stand? Let me know. My name is Cover Killer Nation. This right here is an 85 out of 100 album. What's your score for it? Let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.